Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance watching the stars through the main window. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 6 months, far beyond any place humans had ever been before. The mission was supposed to be simple exploration, but Jake knew there were secrets his crew didn't know about. The communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, suddenly looked up from her station. Her face was pale and her hands were shaking slightly. "Captain, we're getting something strange on all frequencies. It's not from Earth." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It's artificial, sir. Definitely not natural. And it's trying to communicate in English, but the grammar is all wrong." Amy's fingers moved quickly across her controls. "I think someone is trying to talk to us." Jake felt his heart speed up. This was the moment everyone on Earth had wondered about for years. First contact with alien life. Put it on the main screen. The bridge went quiet as the transmission began to play. The image was fuzzy at first, then cleared to show a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It looked somewhat like a large lizard, but it walked upright and wore what appeared to be formal clothing. When it spoke, its voice was deep and had a strange accent. "Greetings to the planet you call Earth. I am Ambassador Zekthara of the Galactic Confederation. We have discovered your world and your species. You will now join our great community of civilized worlds." Jake exchanged looks with his crew. The alien's tone was not friendly. It sounded more like someone giving orders than making an offer. The alien continued speaking. "Your planet has been observed for some time. We see that you have achieved basic space travel and primitive communication systems. This makes you eligible for integration into the Confederation. You have 30 of your solar cycles to send representatives to meet with us." The transmission showed star charts and coordinates for a meeting place at the edge of the solar system. "Your representatives will come to discuss the terms of your integration. You will learn your place in the galactic order and accept the guidance of superior civilizations. This is not a request. This is how things are done." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked shocked and worried. Amy was the first to speak. "Sir, should we send this back to Earth immediately?" "Yes, send it on all emergency channels. Mark it as priority 1. Jake sat down in his captain's chair, thinking quickly. "And Amy, send a coded message to Admiral Brooks. Tell him the package has been delivered." Back on Earth, President Helen Carter was in the middle of a routine meeting when her chief of staff burst into the room. "Madam President, we have an emergency. We need to activate the Global Defense Council immediately." Within hours, world leaders were gathering in the secret facility beneath Mount Weather. President Carter looked around the room at the faces of the most powerful people on Earth. They all looked worried and uncertain except for one man. Admiral Ryan Brooks sat calmly at the far end of the table. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes. While everyone else looked panicked, he seemed almost relieved. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, "this is what we've been preparing for." President Carter nodded to him. "Admiral, I think it's time to tell everyone about the Solar Defense Initiative." Admiral Brooks stood up and activated a holographic display in the center of the room. "For the past 40 years, we have been intercepting alien communications. We know about the Galactic Confederation. We know how they operate. They find new species, intimidate them with superior technology, and force them to become subjects." The room erupted in surprised voices. The Prime Minister of Britain leaned forward. "You mean you knew this was coming?" "We suspected it. We've been tracking their expansion pattern. They've done this to over 200 species. Their method is always the same. They show up with a big fleet, demand surrender, and if the species refuses, they destroy their military and take over by force." Dr. Lisa Hawkins, Earth's top expert on alien languages and cultures, had been studying the transmission. "The ambassador's language patterns suggest they view us as children. They expect complete submission without question. In their experience, primitive species always give in to superior technology." Admiral Brooks smiled grimly. "Which is exactly what we want them to think." He pressed a button and the holographic display changed to show dozens of ships hidden throughout the solar system. "The UES Defiance is not really an exploration ship. It's our most advanced warship, disguised to look peaceful. Captain Morrison and his crew are our first line of contact. President Carter looked at the display with amazement. How many ships do we have? Enough, Admiral Brooks replied. We've been building in secret for decades, mining asteroids, constructing hidden bases, developing new technologies. The aliens think they're dealing with a primitive species that just learned to leave their home planet. They have no idea what humanity is really capable of. The Chinese. Premier raised his hand. But surely their technology is more advanced than ours. Dr. Hawkins answered this time. Not as much as you might think. We've been studying their communications and analyzing crashed alien probes for years. Their technology is advanced, but it's old. They've become lazy and overconfident. They rely on fear and intimidation rather than innovation. Admiral Brooks nodded in agreement. They expect us to panic and beg for mercy. Instead, we're going to give them the surprise of their lives. President Carter stood up and looked around the room. So what do we tell the world? People are going to be scared. They're going to want answers. We tell them the truth, but not all of it, Admiral Brooks replied. We tell them that Earth will send representatives to meet with the aliens. We tell them that we're prepared to negotiate from a position of strength. But we don't tell them about our fleet until the time is right. Dr. Hawkins added, I've been working on the response message. It needs to sound respectful but not submissive. We want them to think we're being cooperative while we get our people into position. Admiral Brooks turned to President Carter. Madam President, Captain Morrison is already en route to the meeting coordinates. His ship and crew are ready to play their part in this deception. The aliens expect to find frightened humans begging for protection. Instead, they're going to find professional soldiers pretending to be confused scientists. President Carter took a deep breath. In a few hours, she would have to address the world and tell them that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. She would have to be strong and confident while keeping the biggest secret in human history. Admiral, how confident are you that this plan will work? Admiral Brooks looked her directly in the eyes. Madam President, the aliens called Earth to the table expecting us to come as beggars. Instead, Earth will answer with warships in orbit. By the time they realize their mistake, it will be too late. The room fell quiet as everyone realized they were about to witness the most important moment in human history. The age of humanity, hiding in one small corner of space, was about to end forever. Captain Jake Morrison read his new orders carefully for the third time. The message had arrived through encrypted channels directly from Admiral Brooks. His mission was no longer exploration. Now he was Earth's secret weapon, disguised as a peaceful research vessel approaching the alien meeting point. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez worked at her station, running final checks on the ship's hidden weapons. To any outside observer, she appeared to be calibrating scientific instruments. In reality, she was preparing the most advanced military systems humanity had ever built. The particle beam cannons were concealed inside what looked like deep space telescopes. The missile launchers were hidden behind panels that appeared to be communication arrays. Major Chris Thompson stood beside Captain Morrison, studying the tactical display. Thompson had spent 15 years in special forces before being selected for this mission. His job was to assess alien capabilities and gather intelligence while pretending to be a confused diplomat, meeting aliens for the first time. Captain, I've reviewed all the files on Confederation first contact procedures, Thompson said quietly. They always follow the same pattern. Big show of force, demands for immediate surrender, then they take hostages to ensure compliance. Peter Grant looked up from his workstation where he was analyzing the alien transmissions. Grant was officially the mission's xenobiologist, but he was also trained in alien technology assessment. His real job was to learn everything possible about Confederation weapons and defenses during the meeting. Their communication patterns suggest they're supremely confident, Dr. Grant reported. They're not even trying to hide their military positions or fleet strength. They broadcast everything openly because they assume we're too primitive to understand what we're seeing. Captain Morrison nodded grimly. The alien overconfidence was exactly what Earth's plan depended on. How long until we reach the meeting? Point? 6 hours, sir, Amy replied from her station. Long-range sensors show a massive alien fleet already in position. One dreadnought, approximately 2 kilometers long, escorted by 12 smaller warships. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Even though they knew Earth had been preparing for this moment, seeing the alien fleet was intimidating. Major Thompson studied the sensor readings carefully. That's a standard Confederation intimidation formation, he observed. They position their biggest ship in the center with escorts arranged to create maximum visual impact. It's designed to make visiting species feel small and helpless. Meanwhile, the Confederation fleet waited at the designated coordinates. Fleet Commander Veltash stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, reviewing the human communications they had intercepted. He was a veteran of 43 successful integrations and had never encountered serious resistance. "Commander, the human vessel is approaching," reported his tactical officer. "Single ship, approximately 300 meters in length. Their technology appears primitive but functional." Veltash looked at the approaching human ship through the main view screen. It looked exactly like what he expected from a newly spacefaring species. Simple hull design, basic propulsion systems, and crude communication arrays. The humans had clearly sent their best ship, but it was still pathetically inferior to Confederation technology. "Any signs of weapons or military capabilities?" he asked. "None detected, sir. Standard sensor scans show scientific equipment, life support systems, and basic navigation computers. No military hardware whatsoever." Ambassador Zekthera joined Veltash on the bridge. The diplomat was pleased with how perfectly everything was proceeding. Another primitive species about to learn their place in the galaxy. This should be quick and simple. Back aboard the UES Defiance, the crew watched the alien fleet grow larger on their screens. Captain Morrison had to admit it was an impressive sight, clearly designed to overwhelm and intimidate. But he also noticed something the aliens probably didn't expect him to understand. "Amy, are you getting detailed scans of their defensive systems?" "Yes, sir. Dr. Grant was right about their overconfidence. They're not bothering to mask their shield frequencies or hide their weapon signatures. I'm getting complete technical readouts on their entire fleet." Dr. Grant smiled as data flowed across his screens. "This is incredible. They're broadcasting detailed information about their military capabilities, fleet positions, and command structure. They must assume we're too primitive to understand what we're seeing." Major Thompson was recording everything for later analysis. "Look at their formation. It's designed for psychological impact, not tactical advantage. Their escorts are positioned to look threatening, but they're actually vulnerable to coordinated attack from multiple vectors." Captain Morrison opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. He made sure his voice sounded nervous and uncertain, like someone meeting superior beings for the first time. "This is Captain Morrison of Earthship Defiance. We have come, as requested, to meet with Confederation representatives." Fleet Commander Veltash responded immediately, his voice full of authority and condescension. "Human vessel, you will dock with our ship immediately. Your representatives will come aboard for integration discussions. You will comply with all instructions without question." "Understood," Morrison replied, adding just the right amount of hesitation to sound intimidated. "We are honored by your invitation and eager to learn from more advanced civilizations." As the UES Defiance approached the alien flagship, the human crew maintained their act perfectly. They appeared to be awed by the size and power of the Confederation ships. In reality, they were gathering detailed intelligence on alien technology, recording defensive systems, and transmitting everything back to the hidden Earth fleet. Dr. Grant's instruments detected the alien ship's internal layout, power distribution, and life support systems. Amy Rodriguez mapped their communication networks and command systems. Major Thompson identified key personnel and analyzed their security procedures. The UES Defiance docked with the alien flagship, and Captain Morrison prepared to board with his team. Before leaving, he sent a coded transmission that appeared to be a routine status report but actually contained complete tactical data on the Confederation fleet. "Remember," Morrison told his team quietly, "we're confused but eager humans meeting aliens for the first time. We ask innocent questions about their technology and society. We appear impressed by everything they show us, and we gather every piece of information we can about their capabilities and weaknesses." Major Thompson checked his hidden recording devices one last time. "Sir, how long do we maintain this deception?" Captain Morrison smiled grimly as they walked toward the airlock. Until Admiral Brooks gives the signal, then these arrogant aliens are going to learn that Earth doesn't come to the table as supplicants. As the human team prepared to board the alien ship, neither side realized that dozens of Earth warships were already in position throughout the system, hidden by advanced stealth technology and waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. The Confederation expected this meeting to end with humanity's surrender and the addition of another subject species to their empire. Instead, they were about to discover that some species bite back when cornered, and humanity had very sharp teeth indeed. The deception was perfect. The aliens saw exactly what they expected to see, while the humans learned everything they needed to know. Soon the real negotiations would begin, but not in the way the Confederation anticipated. The alien flagship's docking bay was enormous, easily 10 times larger than anything humans had built. Captain Morrison, Major Thompson, and Dr. Grant walked carefully across the metal floor, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Alien crew members watched them with curiosity, clearly amused by the small primitive beings visiting their advanced ship. Ambassador Zekathara waited for them with an escort of Confederation guards. The alien diplomat stood nearly 8 feet, tall, his lizard-like features arranged in what might have been a smile. "Welcome aboard the Dominator, humans. You are the first of your species to see true galactic civilization." Captain Morrison looked around with carefully practiced wonder, making sure to seem impressed and slightly overwhelmed. "This ship is incredible. We had no idea such technology existed." "Of course you didn't," Zekathara replied with obvious condescension. "Your species has barely learned to leave your home planet. Come, we will show you the conference chamber where you will sign the integration documents." The human team followed their alien hosts through corridors that seemed designed to intimidate visitors. The ceilings were extremely high, the walls covered with displays showing the power of the Confederation fleet. Everything was built to make visiting species feel small and insignificant. Dr. Grant asked innocent questions as they walked, his voice full of scientific curiosity. "How many ships does the Confederation have? How do you coordinate such a large fleet across so many star systems?" Fleet Commander Veltash, who had joined their group, answered proudly. "We command over 10,000 warships across our territory. Each sector has defensive platforms and patrol fleets. Our communication network spans hundreds of light years instantly." Major Thompson nodded with apparent amazement, while secretly recording every detail. The aliens were freely sharing military information because they saw no threat from primitive humans. "How do you manage to coordinate so many different species and worlds?" "Simple," Ambassador Zekathara explained. "Superior species guide inferior ones. Each world provides resources and labor according to their capabilities. The Confederation maintains order and prevents conflicts between member species." They entered the conference chamber, a massive room with a table that could seat dozens of beings. The walls displayed holographic images of Confederation victories and conquered worlds. It was clearly designed to show visiting species exactly what happened to those who resisted. Captain Morrison and his team took their seats, appearing suitably impressed by the alien technology around them. Dr. Grant continued his questioning, disguised as scientific fascination. "Your defensive systems must be incredibly advanced. How do you protect so many worlds from attack?" Fleet Commander Veltash activated a holographic display showing fleet positions and patrol routes. "Our ships are positioned to respond to any threat within hours. No primitive species has ever successfully challenged Confederation authority." Ambassador Zekathara placed a datapad on the table in front of Captain Morrison. "These are the standard integration terms. Earth will surrender all military vessels and weapons. Your governments will report to Confederation administrators. 20% of your population will be selected for labor service on other worlds." Captain Morrison picked up the datapad, pretending to study it carefully while his hidden recorder captured every detail. "These terms seem very comprehensive. You've clearly done this many times before." 237 successful integrations, Zekathara confirmed proudly. "Not one species has ever refused these terms after seeing our fleet." It would be suicide to resist the Confederation. Major Thompson leaned forward with apparent concern. What happens if a species tries to fight back? Fleet Commander Veltash's expression became grim. We demonstrate the consequences of resistance. Military targets are destroyed first, then infrastructure, then population centers until compliance is achieved. It rarely takes more than a few examples. Dr. Grant continued gathering intelligence while maintaining his act. Your weapons technology must be far beyond ours. What kind of firepower can ships like this produce? The alien commander activated another display, showing weapon specifications and combat footage. Our primary cannons can crack a planet's crust. Our fighter squadrons can eliminate entire fleets of primitive vessels. This flagship alone carries enough firepower to sterilize your homeworld. Captain Morrison nodded slowly, as if finally understanding the hopelessness of resistance. He reached into his pocket for what appeared to be a simple communication device. I need to contact Earth to inform them of these terms. Of course, Ambassador Zekathara agreed. Let your leaders know that cooperation will be rewarded, but resistance will bring destruction. Captain Morrison activated his communicator, but instead of contacting Earth's government, he sent a coded signal to Admiral Brooks. To the aliens, it sounded like a routine diplomatic message. In reality, it was the authorization code for Operation Thunderstrike. Command, this is Morrison. We have positive identification on Confederation fleet positions and defensive capabilities. Authorization code Alpha 77. The response came immediately, crackling through the chamber's speakers with perfect clarity. Every alien in the room could hear Admiral Brooks's voice. Confirmed, Captain. Operation Thunderstrike is authorized. All fleet commanders, you are weapons free. Ambassador Zekathara looked confused. What is the meaning of this transmission? Who is this Admiral Brooks? Captain Morrison's expression changed completely. The nervousness disappeared, replaced by the calm confidence of a professional soldier. Admiral Ryan Brooks is the commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, and you just gave us everything we needed to know about your capabilities and weaknesses. Fleet Commander Veltash moved toward his communication console, but Major Thompson was already standing, no longer playing the role of confused diplomat. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Commander. Look outside. The aliens turned toward the chamber's large windows and froze in shock. Space around their fleet was suddenly filled with the bright flares of ship engines as dozens of human vessels decloaked simultaneously. The Earth warships had been hiding in stealth positions throughout the system, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. Dr. Grant stood up, his scientific wonder replaced by professional analysis. You see, Commander, while you were showing off your fleet positions and defensive systems, we were recording everything. Our ships have been targeting your vessels for the past hour. Admiral Brooks's voice filled the chamber again, broadcast on all Confederation frequencies. This is Admiral Ryan Brooks of the Earth Defense Fleet. You called Earth to the table expecting submission. Instead, Earth has answered with warships in orbit. Ambassador Zekathara stared at the human fleet in disbelief. This is impossible. Your species just achieved space travel. You cannot have military technology capable of threatening us. Captain Morrison smiled grimly. You made the same mistake every bully makes. You assumed that because we appeared weak, we actually were weak. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for 40 years. Through the windows, they could see human fighters swarming around Confederation vessels, their weapons locked on target. The Earth fleet had achieved complete tactical surprise, surrounding the alien ships before they could react or escape. Fleet Commander Veltash attempted to activate his ship's defensive systems, but found his controls unresponsive. Major Thompson held up a small device. Electromagnetic pulse generator. We've been broadcasting interference signals since we came aboard. Your weapons and shields are offline. The truth was finally revealed. The primitive humans the Confederation had come to intimidate were actually professional soldiers who had been studying alien tactics for decades. The meeting that was supposed to end with Earth's surrender had become the aliens' worst nightmare. Ambassador Zekathara's voice was barely a whisper. How many ships do you have? Captain Morrison looked out at the Earth fleet surrounding the Confederation vessels. enough to change the balance of power in this galaxy forever. The age of easy conquest is over. The hunters had become the hunted, and the Confederation was about to learn a painful lesson about underestimating humanity. The space around the Confederation fleet erupted into chaos as human warships revealed themselves from every direction. Captain Sarah Mitchell aboard the UES Retribution watched her tactical display light up with target locks on alien vessels. Her ship was the flagship of Battle Group Alpha, the main assault force that had been waiting in stealth for this moment. "All ships, this is Retribution Actual," Sarah broadcast to her fleet. "Execute attack pattern Delta, disable their engines and weapon systems, but avoid killing shots unless fired upon. We want prisoners, not martyrs." Fleet Commander Veltash frantically tried to rally his forces from the bridge of the Dominator. His communications were being jammed, his shields were down, and human ships surrounded his fleet from every angle. "All vessels, return fire immediately. Destroy these primitive ships." But the Confederation vessels found their weapon systems either offline or jammed by human electronic warfare. Commander Tony Baker's stealth frigates had been broadcasting interference signals for hours, targeting specific frequencies used by alien military systems. The Confederation fleet was effectively defenseless. "Sir, our main cannons are not responding," reported Veltash's tactical officer. "Engine systems are operating at 20% power. The humans have somehow disabled our primary combat systems." Captain Mitchell coordinated the human attack with precision that amazed even her own crew. Every Earthship knew exactly where to be and when to fire. The battle plan had been rehearsed hundreds of times in secret simulations, based on intelligence, gathered from intercepted alien communications over decades. "Baker, take your squadron and disable their communication arrays," Mitchell ordered. "Torres, your fighters are cleared to engage their bomber wings. Remember, we want their ships intact for study." Commander Lisa Torres led Squadron 7 in their advanced interceptors, facing off against alien bomber craft that had never encountered organized fighter resistance. The Confederation pilots were skilled, but they had grown lazy fighting primitive species that had no military aircraft. "This is Torres to all fighters," she broadcast on the tactical channel. "These alien bombers are big and powerful, but they're slow and overconfident. Use hit-and-run tactics, don't try to match their firepower, outmaneuver them." The human fighters swarmed around the alien bombers like angry wasps, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before return fire could find them. Torres watched as alien pilot after alien pilot made the same mistake, trying to turn and fight instead of using their superior firepower at range. "Splash 1 bomber," reported Lieutenant Danny Walsh. "These guys fight like they've never faced real opposition before." Torres agreed. The alien pilots were technically competent, but they had no experience with opponents who could actually challenge them. "That's exactly right, Walsh. They're used to bombing helpless planets, not dogfighting with trained military pilots." Meanwhile, aboard the alien flagship, Dr. Grant was providing real-time intelligence to the Earth fleet while Major Thompson secured the alien command center. The Confederation crew watched in horror as their mighty fleet was systematically disabled by humans they had considered primitive. "Captain Morrison," Dr. Grant reported through his communicator, "I'm reading massive power fluctuations in their main reactor. If we hit their primary power coupling with a focused particle beam, we can disable the entire ship without destroying it." Captain Mitchell received the intelligence and immediately adjusted her attack plan. "Retribution to all ships. Focus fire on the flagship's power systems. Dr. Grant is feeding us targeting data in real time." The battle was unlike anything the Confederation had ever experienced. Usually their victims either surrendered immediately or died quickly under overwhelming firepower. These humans were different. They fought with coordination, intelligence, and technology that seemed impossible for such a young species. Fleet Commander Veltash watched his tactical display in growing despair as ship after ship went dark. The human fleet was not just defeating them, they were systematically capturing intact vessels and crew. How is this possible? Our intelligence said they had barely achieved spaceflight. Ambassador Zekathara, still trapped in the conference chamber with the human team, could only stare through the windows at the destruction of everything he had believed about Confederation superiority. Your species should not have this technology. This level of military organization takes centuries to develop. Major Thompson checked his tactical readout, noting that human casualties were minimal while Confederation losses mounted steadily. You made a basic error in military intelligence, Ambassador. You observed our public technology and assumed it represented our true capabilities. Meanwhile, we've been studying your methods and preparing countermeasures for 40 years. The tide of battle turned decisively when Admiral Brooks himself arrived aboard the UES Sovereign. The massive Earth flagship dwarfed even the Confederation dreadnought, its weapons arrays powering up as it took position at the center of the human fleet. This is Admiral Brooks to all Earth vessels. His voice carried across all frequencies. Commence final phase operations. Secure all enemy ships and prepare for boarding actions. Captain Mitchell coordinated the boarding operations with military precision. Human Marines had been training for alien ship layouts based on decades of intelligence gathering. They knew exactly where to go and what to expect. Marine Team Alpha, you're cleared for boarding the flagship, Mitchell ordered. Team Bravo, secure the escort vessels. Remember, we need their computers and crew intact for intelligence purposes. The Confederation resistance collapsed within 2 hours. Half their fleet was disabled and under human control. The other half was surrounded with no possibility of escape. Fleet Commander Veltash found himself facing a choice between surrender and the complete destruction of his forces. Human Admiral, he transmitted on emergency frequencies. We request terms for surrender. Admiral Brooks responded from the bridge of the Sovereign, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had just fundamentally changed the balance of galactic power. Fleet Commander, you will power down all remaining weapon systems and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to military conventions, but your ships are now property of Earth. Dr. Grant continued analyzing alien technology throughout the battle, sending detailed reports back to Earth's research facilities. Admiral, their technology is advanced but not revolutionary. Most of their systems are several generations behind what they could be. They've grown complacent through easy victories. Major Thompson secured the alien command center and began downloading their computer systems. Sir, I'm getting their complete fleet positions, patrol routes, and communication codes. This intelligence windfall is incredible. The battle ended, not with the destruction Earth's military planners had prepared for, but with the capture of an entire Confederation fleet. The aliens who had come to demand humanity's surrender found themselves prisoners aboard their own ships, facing a species they had catastrophically underestimated. Captain Mitchell surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of the Retribution. Disabled alien ships hung motionless in space, surrounded by human vessels that had emerged from nowhere to deliver a crushing defeat. The Confederation's reputation for invincibility lay in ruins around them. Admiral Brooks, she reported, all enemy vessels are secured. Casualties are minimal on our side. We have approximately 3,000 alien prisoners and 13 intact warships for study. Admiral Brooks looked out at the captured fleet with satisfaction. The plan had worked perfectly. The Confederation had expected to find primitive humans, begging for mercy. Instead, they had walked into a carefully prepared trap that demonstrated Earth's true military capabilities. Excellent work, Captain. Signal Earth Command that Operation Thunderstrike is complete. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity is no longer hiding in the shadows. The battle was over, but the real negotiations were just beginning. 3 hours after the battle ended, Admiral Brooks walked into the conference chamber aboard his flagship, the UES Sovereign. The same room where the Confederation had planned to dictate terms to humanity now hosted negotiations between equals, though the power balance had shifted dramatically in Earth's favor. Ambassador Zek Thara and Fleet Commander Veltash sat at the conference table, their earlier arrogance replaced by barely controlled fear. Human Marines stood guard at every entrance, their weapons ready but not threatening. The message was clear. Earth was now in control. Gentlemen, Admiral Brooks said as he took his seat, I believe we need to discuss new arrangements for this region of space. Dr. Lisa Hawkins entered the chamber, no longer playing the role of curious scientist but serving as Earth's chief diplomat for first contact situations. She had studied Confederation politics and social structures for years, preparing for exactly this moment. Ambassador Zekathara, she said calmly. "We've been monitoring your communications with the Confederation Council. They're demanding an explanation for why an entire battle fleet has gone silent." Zekthara's scaled hands trembled slightly as he spoke. "They will send a larger fleet to investigate. The Council will not tolerate this defiance from a primitive species." Admiral Brooks smiled without humor. "Ambassador, I think you still don't understand your situation. Show them the tactical display, Dr. Hawkins." The holographic projector in the center of the table activated, showing a three-dimensional map of local space. Dozens of red dots appeared, representing hidden human military installations throughout the solar system and beyond. The display revealed the true scope of Earth's military preparation. "These are our defensive platforms around every major planet and moon," Dr. Hawkins explained. "These are our hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt, and these are our forward bases that your people never detected." Fleet Commander Veltash stared at the display in shock. "This is impossible. Our sensors would have detected such extensive military construction." Commander Janet Phillips, Earth's intelligence chief, joined the meeting with a datapad full of classified information. "Commander, you detected exactly what we wanted you to detect. We've been feeding false information into your surveillance networks for 20 years. She activated another section of the holographic display, showing Confederation territory with human agents marked throughout their space. "We have operatives on 47 Confederation worlds. We know about your military capabilities, your political structure, and your internal problems." President Helen Carter's image appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from Earth where crowds were celebrating humanity's victory. "Admiral Brooks, I've been in communication with leaders across Earth. We're ready to proceed with the Terra Accords as planned." Admiral Brooks turned back to the alien delegates. "Ambassador, Fleet Commander, Earth is prepared to offer you terms. But understand that we're not negotiating from weakness. We're offering you a chance to avoid further conflict." Ambassador Zekthara tried to maintain some dignity. "The Confederation Council will never accept terms dictated by a single planet. We represent hundreds of worlds and thousands of years of galactic civilization." Dr. Hawkins consulted her datapad before responding. "Actually, Ambassador, our intelligence indicates that the Confederation is facing serious internal problems. 17 member species have requested independence in the past decade. Resource allocation disputes are causing political instability, and your military is stretched thin maintaining control over rebellious populations." Commander Phillips added more uncomfortable details. "We also know about the resistance movements on 38 conquered worlds. Many of your subject species are actively working to overthrow Confederation rule. They're just waiting for someone to show that the mighty Confederation can be defeated." Fleet Commander Veltash looked defeated. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Brooks stood up and began pacing, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had just changed the balance of galactic power forever. "First, immediate cessation of all aggressive expansion. No more forced integrations of developing species. Second, withdrawal from all worlds conquered in the past 50 years. Give them the choice to remain or become independent." President Carter continued the terms from Earth. "Third, recognition of Earth as an equal power in galactic affairs. No more treatment of humanity as a primitive species. We want full diplomatic relations and trade agreements." Ambassador Zekthara protested weakly. "The Council will never agree to such terms. The economic disruption alone would be catastrophic." Dr. Hawkins smiled. "Ambassador, perhaps you should know that we've already been in contact with several Confederation member species. The ones who joined voluntarily are very interested in reforming your government. The ones who were conquered by force are eager for independence." Commander Phillips activated her own section of the holographic display, showing communication logs and diplomatic messages. "The Altarian Republic, the Centauri Federation, and the Free Worlds Alliance have all expressed interest in working with Earth to create a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than conquest." Fleet Commander Veltash realized the full scope of the disaster. "You've been planning this for decades. The communications intercepts, the intelligence gathering, the military preparation. This wasn't a defensive reaction to our arrival. This was an offensive operation to destroy the Confederation. Admiral Brooks nodded approvingly. Finally, you're beginning to understand. Humanity spent 40 years studying your methods, analyzing your weaknesses and preparing for this confrontation. We didn't just want to survive first contact. We wanted to reshape the galaxy. The negotiations continued for hours, with Earth systematically dismantling the Confederation's justifications for their imperial system. Dr. Hawkins presented evidence of exploitation, forced labor, and cultural genocide. Commander Phillips revealed the extent of resistance movements throughout Confederation space. As the talks progressed, more Earth ships arrived to escort the captured Confederation vessels. The aliens watched through the conference chamber windows as their mighty fleet was being systematically studied and analyzed by human engineers and scientists. Admiral, Captain Morrison reported via communicator. We've completed downloading their computer systems. We now have complete intelligence on Confederation military capabilities, political structure, and territorial boundaries. Ambassador, Zekathera finally accepted reality. What guarantee do we have that Earth will honor these agreements? How do we know you won't simply replace the Confederation with human rule? President Carter answered from Earth. Because that's not who we are, Ambassador. Humanity believes in freedom and self-determination. We're not interested in ruling over other species. We want a galaxy where every world can choose its own path without fear of conquest. Admiral Brooks presented the final document, which would become known throughout the galaxy as the Terra Accords. These terms establish Earth as a protector of smaller civilizations and a guarantor of independence for species that choose freedom over imperial rule. The signing ceremony was broadcast across both human and Confederation communication networks. Fleet Commander Veltash and Ambassador Zekathera signed for the Confederation, while Admiral Brooks and Dr. Hawkins signed for Earth. As the alien delegates prepared to return to their surviving ships under escort, Admiral Brooks offered them one final observation. You called Earth to the table expecting us to beg for mercy. Instead, we answered with warships and changed the rules of galactic civilization forever. The aftermath was swift and decisive. News of the Confederation's defeat spread across the galaxy within days. Resistance movements on conquered worlds declared independence. Member species demanded renegotiation of their relationships with the central government. The age of easy imperial expansion was over. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, now revealed as one of Earth's most advanced warships, watching the former Confederation fleet limp away under human escort. His ship would lead the first human patrol missions into former Confederation territory, protecting newly independent worlds and ensuring the Terra Accords were honored. Sir, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez reported from her station. We're receiving messages from 17 different species requesting Earth protection and alliance agreements. Morrison smiled as he looked out at the stars that no longer belonged exclusively to the Confederation. Amy, send a message to Admiral Brooks. Tell him the galaxy is ready for a new kind of civilization, one based on cooperation instead of conquest. Humanity had not just survived first contact with a hostile galactic empire. They had fundamentally altered the balance of power among the stars and established themselves as protectors of the weak, rather than conquerors of the helpless. The Terra Accords would be remembered as the document that ended the age of galactic imperialism and began the era of interstellar cooperation. The Confederation had called Earth to the table expecting submission. Instead, Earth had answered with warships and rewritten the rules of galactic civilization forever.